Hi friends, Tiffany here. Welcome to my quilting life. So in today's video, I'm going to show you a super easy table runner and placemats. So we can make a quilted table runner and little quilted placemats to go along with it. And all we need is a charm pack and 1 yard of fabric. So I'm going to be using Shine On by Bonnie and Camille charm pack. It's really colorful and kitchen-esque is what I call it. It's just it's got kitchen type colors for me. So I'm going to be using that and this green with like a grayish white colored polka dots. And let's get started because this is really easy. I can say this, if you don't have a charm pack, but you have a half a jelly roll or a jelly roll or 2.5-inch scraps, that will work also. Let's just say this is just going to get cut down into 2.5-inch squares. I went with a charm pack because, well, it's a 5-inch and I just cut it in half 2 directions. And we will have our jelly roll squares. Is that what would you call them? Charm squares or mini charms? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm literally just going to separate this into cuttable piles. I'm just going to keep them as nice as I can stacked up on top of each other, just like this. And I'm going to make some piles that are not too big to cut. Let's get this last pile off of here, right there. And look at that, simple and easy. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn these into 2.5-inch squares. So I'm literally going to cut these in half twice. So I'm going to look real quick and make sure the pinking is the outside of 5 inches, and it is. So I just line this ruler up, that's 2.5 inches, on the outside of the pinking, cut in half once, make sure that it doesn't shift, turn the ruler and cut in half again. Just like that. Revealing myself a bunch of 2.5-inch squares. Like I said, you can use a jelly roll and just subcut into a bunch of 2.5-inch squares. So again, I'm just going to do the same thing with every single one of these little piles, making it easier to cut them by smallening the pile amount down so that I'm not cutting like 15 layers or something, because that does kind of get hard to do. But I'm just going to line these up and cut 2.5-inch squares. So, still cutting here, you know. That one was a little tough. That one probably has like 9 layers. Something like that. That's real close. Cutting it close, Tiffany. Cutting it close. All right. Line it up. There we go. 2.5-inch squares from this pile. Oop, one of them didn't cut right here somewhere. Ta-da. All fixed. All right. Cut right here. Make sure it doesn't shift or move. Place the ruler right here. Cut the other direction. And you can use scraps for this project if you have 2.5-inch square if you cut your scraps into 2.5-inch squares like I do. But for this project, I'm just using this so that everything matches, because we're going for the matchy-matchy look today. All right, one more pile to cut. Look at how quick this goes. The cutting is super cinch because literally just making 2.5-inch squares. All right, and now we're going to go this direction. And we have all of our squares now ready. We're going to move those out of the way. And we're going to go ahead now and cut our yardage. And don't worry, I will put in the description below what you need to cut, how many of what, and so on and so forth for this project. So I'm going to open this up and we are going to cut 6 2.5-inch strips off of here. So we're going to cut 6 2.5-inch strips. And I'm going to go ahead and straighten my fabric first. And I'm just going to cut 6 2.5-inch strips. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, I'm just going to move this out of the way. We're going to have to cut a little bit more off of it in a little bit, but for now we're going to work on the table runner. So what we're going to do, so we're going to start taking our squares now, and we are going to start making some blocks with these. So I really want to just mix all this up. So this is what I'm going to do, is start just mixing them all up so that I can grab different colors. I don't want the same all reds in one and all yellows and greens and aquas in another. I want them separated. So we're going to make a mess of this right here on the table before your very eyes. Look, it's magic. Yay, we're making a mess. I know. I'm weird. But that's okay. All right, come on. Keep coming apart. Let's make this beautiful mess. Keep going. Come on, a little bit more messy. Come on, we want more mess. More mess. Some of these are just stuck together. You know, that's what happens when you cut them together. They don't want to come apart. All right. Here we go. Move mess out of way. And now we're going to take and do 3 across, or 3 down. See, and there we go with all that pink. I didn't want to do that. So 3 down and 4 across. I need some blue in here. It doesn't really matter if it's directional. I'm just gonna, come on, get it in there. Let's put 1 down here. Put that guy right there. What gave me the kitchen vibe for this, the kitchen-esque vibe, is these prints right here. They just look like tablecloth prints to me, you know? All right, come on, we need another color in here. There's an aqua. We need aqua in here. Let's put that there, just like that. So we are going to make 3 by 4 units like this. So I'm going to go ahead and make 8 of these units. So here's 1. Now I'm going to go ahead and make all 8 piles, and then we're going to start to sew them. And I'm going to chain piece the whole lot of everything. So I'm going to move these out of the way, and we're going to make 8 piles right here. That I don't need to show you because I'm trying to make it easy on myself. And then we're going to subcut all those, but I'm going to get to putting all this together. Okay, once you have all 8 of your 3 across, 4 down, or 4 across, 3 down, I have no idea which way you want to put it. Once you have all 8 of your piles together in the way you want to sew them, we're going to take these over to the machine and chain piece away. So let's go over to the machine and start sewing these up. Now I kind of put mine a little far from me, but what I'm going to do is come up here to the top on this first set of 3 that are right here on the side. You kind of can't see them, but they're way over here on the side. And I'm just going to put one on top of the other when it comes to that first row. If you need to know how I chain piece, you could check out my 25 patch videos, because those show the chain piecing or web piecing very well. So I'm just going to stack the first one onto the second one, and then I'm going to just do these 3 at a time. I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to start sewing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and just going to put them in one right after the other. Grab them, put them here, sew it through over and over again until the whole lot of them are sewn together. So I'm going to go ahead and throw some music on and put it in fast forward while I sew all these. And then I'll come back and show you how to add the next piece. Okay, so that was quick, wasn't it, right? I'm only doing 3 of the units at first. All right, so here we are with this next one. I'm going to press this seam to the right and the next one to the left, and then the third one to the right. And I'm going to go ahead and take that next row and grab that third piece, and I'm going to attach that. Then I'm going to grab the second piece and attach that. And the third one on the third row and attach that. And then I'm going to repeat the process with the next 3. So I'm going to go right with the seam, left with the seam, right with the seam. Okay, and then I'm just going to take the next 3 and attach them. So you can go ahead and start from the bottom if you wanted and finger press. This one would be the right, this one would be to the left, and then this one would be to the right. And then we're going to repeat that every 3. Right, left, right, and then we're going to repeat again. Right, left, and then to the right. And now I'm going to go ahead and grab that the fourth piece and attach them on just like this over and over until the whole entire lot of them is cleaned up. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in fast forward while I finish this part up. Okay, so right, left, right. Now I'm going to snip these 3 off. So these 3 are together. Move them aside. Then I'm going to finger press again. You can do this at the iron if you want to after the fact, but I like to just do it while I'm sitting here. So again, right, left, right. Snip those 3 off of there. And then we have the last 3, which are right, left, right again. Makes it easy to nest your seams. So once they are all finger pressed, you can either take them to the iron if you want to, but I don't even bother with that. I'm going to stick these right sides together. And since they're the same exact size, because I used a 1/4-inch seam, you can see the pieces come to the end here and come to the end there. And I finger pressed them. I gave them a general direction of nesting those seams so they are in opposite directions. So I'm going to go ahead now and just line it up. I'm going to hold that seam right here just to keep it down. I'm going to nest that second one while I'm sitting here. I'm not doing anything else. I'm stopping at the seam, nesting that next one, and running it through. I'm going to go ahead and finger press this to the right because, well, that's the easiest way. Then I'm going to turn the whole unit, and I'm going to stick this one right on top, just like this. And I'm going to go ahead now and nest that first seam. Stop while I'm in it, nest that second one, stop while I'm in it, and nest this third one. Again, the pieces are the same exact size, so they should land right on top of themselves. And then we're going to finger press this one to the right as well. I mean, it really doesn't matter which way as long as they're all opposite. And there we have one block. And you can see my seams are all in opposite directions. And then these ones go out. Just helps it lay flatter. And then I'll take this to the iron and press the whole thing once I have all 8 of these together. So I'm going to go ahead now and just do the same thing over and over again, just like this, right sides together, nesting that first seam. This should be an 8.5 inch across piece right here. Just like that. I'm going to finger press this one to the right. Turn the whole thing around, right sides together. Gotta nest these up. Lining everything up, stopping in those seams, right there, until I know everything's lined up, and then I'm again finger press this out to the right. So there's block number 2. Let's do that one more time, and then I will do the rest off camera because I have to piece 5 more of these. So again, we're going to just hold this like this, stop in that first seam, nest that second seam, stop in it, nest the third seam, we're going to finger press this out to the right, turn the whole unit, and go for the opposite side. Okay, finger press. And at this point, once you iron it, you should have a 6.5 by 8.5 inch block. So I'm going to go ahead now and just skip ahead and do the rest, all 5 of the rest of these, because we'll still have to do 4 more, but they're going to be a little bit different for our placemats. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rest of the 5 of these, and then we'll get this assembled, and then we'll do the placemats. But for now, let's get these done, and I'll see you in a few minutes. All right. All 8 of our rectangles are now sewn. So there's 8 of these. They should be 6.5 by 8.5. So now we are going to subcut what we cut off of our yardage, our 6 strips for now, because we need to cut more. We're going to subcut these into 6.5 inch pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and cut right here. And we're going to go to 6.5, and we're going to cut 6 of these. So there's 2, 4, and 6. All right, once you have your 6.5 inch pieces, we're going to go ahead and cut some 8.5 inch pieces, and we only need 4 of them. So we're going to go ahead and cut 4 8.5 inch by 2.5 inch pieces. All right, that's not 8.5, so let's grab the bigger ruler, and we're going to go to 8.5, and we're only cutting 4 of these. So there's 2, and 2 more right here, just like that. And then I'm going to press this at the iron real quick. All right, so now we can lay this out. I'm just going to set these aside because we need the rest of those for the border. All right, so let's lay this out. We're going to lay 4 of these across. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, and then we're going to take our 6.5 by 2.5 and place them here, there, and here. And then we're going to take our 8.5 inch pieces by 2.5 inch pieces and place here, there, there, and right here. And then we're going to take 3 charm squares from our extra squares. We're going to take 3 of those. We're going to place them here, there and there because those are our cornerstones. And then all we need to do now is lay the rest of these blocks with our 6.5 inch by 2.5 inch sashing in between these, just like this. One here, that there, and this last one right down here. So we're going to assemble this section first, and then we are going to add some side borders and some top and bottom borders, which again, the rest of our strips should cover that we cut, because we cut 6 2.5 inch strips from our yardage. So let's go ahead, and I'm just going to leave you right where you are. I'm going to take these two, I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to take it over to the machine, and I'm going to stitch right here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right. Once that is done, I am just going to finger press this for now towards the sashing piece. Lay it right back down. I'm going to take that second piece and stick that on top right here. I'm going to take it and sew a 1/4 inch seam. For now, I'm going to go ahead and finger press towards the sashing. Okay. Then I'm going to take that next piece, and I'm going to put that sashing right on top. Again, it's 6.5 inches, so it's exactly the right size. I'm going to sew that on. I'm going to go ahead and finger press that towards the sashing. And since it's getting long, I'm just going to go ahead and grab this piece, and I'm going to stick it right here on this farther side. Right sides together, 1/4 inch seam. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and finger press that towards the sashing because that's the way it wants to go. I'm going to go ahead and grab another sashing piece. Add that again. Sew it on. Again, finger press that one more time this way. Grab that last and final piece to that row and right sides together. Sew it on. I'm going to go ahead now and finger press that towards the sashing. Just like that. So now row 1 is done. Now we're going to do the sashing row. We're going to do the sashing and then the cornerstone. So our 8.5 inch by 2.5 with a 2.5 inch square. Put those on, sew a 1/4 inch seam. Okay. So now with this one, I'm going to finger press this towards the sashing green, or my longer piece, not the square. That way they're all going to nest when we put them together. So that would go back right there. Then we're going to take this next piece, right sides together on the other side of that square. Sew that. And then I'm going to finger press this one again towards the longer piece. Add another square, and you get the point of what I'm doing here. All right. I'm going to finger press this towards the longer sashing piece. Then I'm going to grab the next one. I'm going to press that towards the sashing. Grab your cornerstone, add that on, finger press it towards the sashing, and then grab your final piece of sashing, place that on top, and finger press that again towards the sashing. So now we have our next row done, and now we just need to repeat with this last one. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick, and then I'll come back and show you how to assemble. Okay, now to put these 3 units together. So we're going to take this long sashing piece, and we're going to put that right sides together, and we are going to be nesting the seams here, there, and here. Okay, and it should be exactly the size you need it to be. I'm going to go ahead and start from up here, so a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. Now, if you want to take and nest these first and put a pin in it, by all means do that, but I am not going to bother. I'm just going to sew it on and hold that next seam each time I come to a pin. Okay, once it's sewn on there, I'm just going to go to the iron now and press this back really nicely. All right, once this is pressed, I'm just going to lay it right back here again. I'm going to take that bottom section now. I'm going to do the same exact thing. Right sides together. You can pin at these seams if you want. That is totally sewer's choice, is what we're going to call it. Line up the ends. Your seams should nest because the sashing was pressed towards the sashing, and the sashing on the long in between strips were pressed towards the sashing. So everything should nest right up. Okay, Once that is sewn, I'm going to take it and I'm pressing these towards the sashing. So I'm going to go ahead and press this at the iron towards the sashing. All right, so here it is right here. So now we are going to go ahead and attach our top and our bottom. So we need a 38.5-inch strip is what it should be. So to measure that, just grab yourself a measuring tape to make sure, but it should be 38.5. We're going to go right here to the 0, and it is 38.5. So we're going to grab our sashing strips right here, and we're going to cut a 38.5-inch piece. But I'm going to do it from the fold. So I'm going to keep it folded in half like this, and then I'm going to measure from the center out and then make my cut. So let me go ahead and do that. So we're going to grab our ruler and we're going to cut this at 19.25. 19.25. And I have the fold over here. So this should now be a 38.5-inch piece. We're going to go ahead and do that again. So 19.25 is the number we're looking for. The fold is lined up at the 0. Okay. We're going to go to 19.25. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these salvages on here because guess what? I can turn these into squares. Okay, so now I have my top and bottom. We're going to go ahead and attach those. We're going to pull this over here, and they should be exactly the right size. So we're going to go ahead and place this right sides together all the way down, and look at that, exactly the right size from one side to the other. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew this on. All right, once that one side is on, we're going to go ahead and place the other side on. And again, it should be exactly the right size. I'm going to go ahead and sew that. Okay, once these are on, I'm going to go ahead and take it to the iron and press these back. Okay, once it's here, it should be 18.5 inches. So now we're going to take our next strip and we're going to cut 18.5 inches of our background, or border fabric, I guess. All right, here's our two 18.5-inch pieces. I'm going to go ahead now. We're going to turn this to the side like this, and we're going to go ahead and attach one onto each side. So here's one for this side, exactly the right size. Okay, and then we'll sew a 1/4-inch seam, and then we'll do the same with the other side. Once they are sewn on, we just need to press them, and then we'll be on to our placemats. Okay, here it is. So at this point, it should be 42 or 42.5, somewhere between there, by 18.5. So 18.5 inches wide by 42 to 42.5, depends on your seam allowance, long. So here is our table runner. And now we need to make our matching placemats, which are just a little bit different, but pretty much the same. So let's go about laying those out. I'm going to pull the rest of my scraps and I'm just going to start laying them out in the order they need to go. Okay, the rest of our pieces are here, except for 9 squares. You will have 9 2.5-inch squares left after you cut your charm pack into 2.5-inch mini charms. I think that was the word that I was looking for earlier. So for the placemats that go with the table runner, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across by 3 down. So we're just elongating them ever so slightly. So again, 5 across by 3 down. Now I'm going to spare you the sewing of these. We're going to do that same chain piecing where I sew this one to this one to that one, and so on and so forth. Sew those, open them up, and then sew that next one on. But I'm going to do it in sets of 3. So I'm going to do these 2 on all these, and then, you know, open the seams, and we're going to do the same thing with the seams. Right, left, right, and then when we put the whole entire unit together, these seams are going to press outward. So that way the block lays really flat. So I'm going to spare you sewing all this together, and I am just going to do this off camera, and then I will take you to that next step where we put some borders around them, and bam, we have placemats. So let's just sew these up real quick. I'll show you the borders, and then we'll have placemats. Okay, now we should have 4 6.5 by 10.5 inch pieces. So now we're going to take the rest of our yardage. Remember, we only needed just a yard for this, and technically it's just a little bit under. We're going to go ahead now and cut 4 more 2.5 inch strips. Okay, and now we are going to subcut 8 10.5 inch rectangles. So I'm going to go ahead and press this out, and we're going to cut 8 10.5 inch rectangles. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the selvage off. We're going to go to 10.5, and we won't get 10.5 from that. And then cut the selvage off and get another 4 more 10.5s, just like that. All right. So now we have 8 10.5 inch. Okay. And what we're going to do on all 4 of these is we are going to place a 10.5 inch on the top and the bottom, just like this, on all of these. Come on. Last 2, just like this. So we're going to go ahead now and sew these right sides together, one of these on each side of all 4 of our placemats. Okay. With a 1/4 inch seam. So I'm going to go ahead and sew on both sides. Now to take these over and press them back. Now we just need to add to the other 2 sides. So we're going to go ahead now and cut 8 more 10.5 inch strips. Now you can open up your leftover pieces like this, press those folds, and iron those out and cut the 10.5 inches from these 2, the folds. So we get 2 here that are 10.5, like this. And then we didn't need those. And then you get 2. So we're going to get 2 10.5s from here. So there's 2 more. Save that. So there's 2 blocks worth. Cut this end off. Oops, I did not cut that straight whatsoever. That's always while filming. All right, so we're going to cut 10.5 right here. That's what it was. And then you get your 2 more from this. And I'm going to go ahead and press these real quick to get that flat. All right, so here we go. 2 more. And that gives us all 4 blocks worth. And then you should have, from all of your scraps, you should only have these 2 pieces here and then some small stuff. All right. So now we just need to add these to the sides of each of these. So they should be exactly the right size at 10.5. We're going to sew down both these sides on all 4 of these. and then our placemats will be done. So I'm just gonna lay them all on here, stacking them all up. Just like this, and they're all ready to go to the machine. All right, so I'm gonna sew these and I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so now you should have 4 10.5 by 14.5 inch placemats to go with your table runner. So let's take a look at all of this. And here we have it. So now we can have dinner at our table with our placemats for our plates and the table runner for all the goodies or whatever you want to use it for. And for backing fabric, if you quilt it in this orientation, you're going to use 1.5 yards of fabric if you quilt it laid out like this. So your wide part from selvage to selvage runs this way, and this is your 1.5 yards. And that gives extra yardage, extra inches on both sides for wiggle room. But if you load it like this on a long arm, again, 1.5 yards. But that is not it, because I have a bonus for you. What if you don't need a table runner and placemats, but you have a baby coming? Somewhere in your life, somebody's having a baby, and you want to make a baby quilt. So let's get to showing you how to take this idea and turn it into a baby quilt. Okay, for the baby quilt, which is the bonus, you're going to need a charm pack. Again, you can use a jelly roll. You could use a layer cake and make it humongous and not a baby quilt. You can use whatever you wish. Again, your scraps of 2.5 inch squares, however you wish to do it. Then we are going to need, for our background fabric, which would be the sashing pieces, you're going to need 3/4 of a yard. So 3/4 of a yard, and I have chose this yellow. And then for your second border, you need 1/2 a yard. And I have chosen this little cutesy flower one. For my charm pack, I'm using, what is this called? Frankie for Basic Gray by Moda. And it's just all sorts of flowers. And then there's some alphabets in here, which I thought would be cute for a baby quilt. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So let's just move those out of the way, because we're going to do the same thing as last time. We're literally going to take a couple off the top. And when you cut this charm pack, you should get more than 150 squares, but you need 150 total with the sashing cornerstones and with all the blocks that we're going to be making. So we're just going to separate this out. Like I said, it's very simple. We're just going to be cutting these in half and then in half again. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a ruler and a rotary cutter and do the same thing I did with the table runner and placemats. All right, once it's all chopped up, I'm going to do that same thing and just start mixing them up. Oy, they just don't come apart, do they? You really got to slide your fingers on these. Just slide those fingers. Use those fingers to break it all up. Okay, come on, let's go. This is the fun part right here. Come on. Ooh, there's some grunge in here. Look at that. Was I paying attention to that when I chose this? Probably not. Come on. Separate apart. I really want to have a good mashup of all these. I definitely don't want them to all be the same over and over again. And when I pull from them, it would be nice to pull from them when they're separated, Makes it easier. Instead of in these big bunches like this. Because they had them in order by color, and that's not how I'm piecing it. We're doing the scrappy way. Which I think these are all scrappy fabrics, because technically some of these are from different lines. I can tell just by looking at them. Plus there's the grunge in here. All right. Now that it's a giant mashup, as best as I could possibly get it for now, although it's still not, you know, whatever, I'm going to slide it all over right here, and we're going to go ahead and cut our background pieces. So from our 3/4 of a yard, I don't know why I keep calling it background because it's sashing. I'm going to go ahead and press this real quick, and then we're going to make some cuts. So while I wait on that iron, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making those same blocks, rectangle blocks. So we're going to be doing 4 across like this by 3 down. Oops, I already got one of those in there. See, this is why I wanted it really mixed up, so that I'm not putting the same pieces in over and over again. Just like this. And there. And put this one right here. Okay, so we're going to be making 12 of these units. So 12 units that are just like this. So go ahead and just start laying them out the way you want them and make 12 of them. And the iron should be ready. Da, 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 da. That way I can press the rest of the fabric. But for now, you know that you need to make 12 units like this. Like this. So it is so pretty. Actually, that one is the same as that one. Let's find a different one. How about this orange color? That there. That there. Perfect. That one there and that one there. It really doesn't matter. I'm trying to make it like work, but honestly, you know, just move things around. There we go. How about that? Yep, that's better. I'm going to do that 12 different times, obviously. My iron should be ready so we can cut this yardage. It's actually kind of ironic that this background fabric or sashing fabric right here is called Sweet Baby Jane by me and my sister designs for Moda because I'm making a baby quilt with it. So it has the word baby in the name. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and straighten up my end, and we're going to cut a total of 9 2.5-inch strips. Again, the directions will be linked in the description below. So we're cutting 9 2.5-inch strips. All right, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm also going to stack these up and set them aside, and we can subcut them once all of the blocks are made. And this one's called Sugar Cube by Whistler Studios for Wyndham Fabrics. So I'm just going to set those aside. All right. Let's get to piecing 12 of these blocks because, you know, I got to make 12 of them. Oops, I'm losing my pieces. So I'm going to get to making 12 of these. Okay, so I went ahead and made all 12 piles. Obviously, I traded some stuff around. I need to keep out 6 for my cornerstones. Now, I have decided to do 6 of the same thing. So I pulled all these out so that I can do 6 of the same cornerstones. Okay, so I have 8 pieces here, but I only need 6 for the cornerstone, so I pulled the whole thing out. I also pulled out all of the whites because I really don't need those, so I didn't even put plain white in and the plain white grunge. And then I also pulled out these white, 4 of each of these white ones. So you'll have 16 squares left that you're not using, and then obviously the 6 from here, so that leaves 2 out. So 18 squares that you will not use from your charm pack when you go to put this together. So I have my 6 of those, and then I have all 12 of these laid out. So now I've already shown you how to chain piece these. I'm just going to put the first one over the second one and chain piece all of it. Then open this up, put that one on, open it, and put the next one on. I'm going to chain piece all 12 of these so that I can get it done in lickety split amount of time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to save you that step because technically you already watched it. So I'm going to go ahead and start this now, and I'll meet you back when I have all 12 blocks made. I have now made all 12 of my blocks. Now it's time to cut our sashing pieces. So we're going to start by cutting some 6.5-inch strips for in between, and then we're going to cut some 8.5-inch for the up and down. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut the 6.5-inch, and we need 2 of these strips for that. And we're going to cut 8 total. Let me get rid of the salvage. And we're going to cut 8 6.5-inch pieces. So here's 4 and 8. Okay. And now we're going to cut some 8.5-inch pieces. And we need 9 of those. Let's see if we can get 8.5 from here. No, we can't. So let's just go ahead and grab 2 more strips. We're going to open this up too. All right. Let's cut the salvage off. We're going to cut 8.5-inch strips. We're going to cut 9 of them. So here's 4. There's 8. And then we're going to open one of these up. And here's our 9th piece. Okay. And that's now scraps. We have those 2.5 by 6.5. We have 2.5 by 8.5. And then the rest of these are for going around the quilt for your border. So let's go ahead and we're going to put this together the same exact way that we put together the other table runner, and we're going to just one right after the other like this. We're going to go 3 across like this, 3 across, and then we're going to make our sashing right here, and then we're going to put our cornerstones in, and then we're going to go 4 down. So then it would be this again, one of these right here, 2 more blocks, and then we'll make room and do it all over again. And we're going to go 4 down, so 3 blocks across, 4 blocks down. Okay, so then we would make another row with the 8.5 inches here, this, and then grab 3 more cornerstone, or 2 more, I mean, for here. And then we're going to repeat the process over and over again. I'm going to go ahead and put this right sides together and sew that through. And I'm just going to chain piece these this time, like this. And then I'm going to add the other rows because I'm not laying it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 3 across by 4 down like this. So I'm just going to go ahead and take this one, and it'll get one of these. Come on, right here on the side. And then I need my 8.5, which will go underneath it because I'm going to chain piece the whole row, even though it's not laid out first. So it'll be this, and then a cornerstone, right sides together that way. I'm just going to lay these like this. That way I have room because I know I'm pulling them through. And then I'm going to grab this last one right here with one of these right sides together. And I'm going to repeat that process with all 3 rows. So I'm going to go ahead and start sewing this. Once I have them all chain pieced together like this in one long row, I'm going to go ahead and attach the next side to it. And I'm just going to grab from my piles right here that I have where you can't see on the camera. That way I can add to it as I go. Everything is going to get pressed towards that sashing piece. So make sure you press. This would be to the right, this would be to the left, this would be to the right, the next one to the left, and so on and so forth. Again, 3 rows across by 4 rows down. All right, once you have the whole thing chain pieced together, if you want a chain piece, you can do it singly, but I tend to just chain piece stuff like this because it makes it a little bit easier for me. All right, so once it's chain piece, I'm just going to finger press this last bit. Again, it's going towards the sashing. Any direction that you're going, you're pushing it towards the sashing or the yellow. Now, I'm going to start with putting this right sides together, and I'm going to go ahead and nest these 2 seams right here, and I'm going to nest these 2 seams right here. Everything else should line right up because it's the same exact size. So I'm going to do that and sew those first. Once this is together, about that first two, I'm going to finger press towards the sashing, just like that. I'm going to take and try to straighten this out real quick. It becomes all discombobulated. All right, then we're going to take these two that we just sewn and stick them right sides together with the next row. And we're going to repeat until the whole thing is done, but I usually do these ones and then I'll do these ones. That way, and then all I have to do is put the center together. So again, it should line right up. Those seams should nest. You can pin it if you would like, but again, I'm a non-pinner most times, so I'm just going to go ahead and go for it. Once that is done, again, same thing, except instead of putting this bigness on top of this little skinny strip, I'm now going to take this skinny one and come over this way with it. So now I'm going to work this direction. So I'm going to line these up, nest those seams at that junction, and then start going this direction. Once that is together, you're just going to open this up and go to the next one. Just like that. And repeat and repeat and repeat. So I'm just going to reach my hand under and finger press for now towards the sashing. Just kind of doing it without seeing what I'm doing, but you can feel that you're pushing the seam back. All right, lay everything nicely again. We're going to stick these together, nesting those seams again. All right, just two more times left. So we're going to just lift this. I'm going to finger press this again, just for right now with my finger across this towards the sashing. All right. Line that up. We're going to do this seam, then this seam, and then we're going to add some borders. Okay? Once you have this all done, we're going to take it over and press it, but I'm pretty sure you know how to do that. So I'm going to skip that step, and I'm just going to, for now, finger press, and then I'm going to give it a good press. All right, here we go. So here it is right here. Now, this should be like 29 and a half by 30, which if I turn it this way, by 30 and a half, somewhere around there. Just, it all depends on your seam allowance. Some are different. So I'm going to go ahead and take one of these. That's why we didn't pre-cut this, because you never know. And I'm actually going to cut this to size. So I'm going to put the sides on first. So right here, and I'm going to cut it to size. So let me grab a ruler for that. If you want to do exact math, you can. I am not, because I had done the math and it still didn't turn out the way I had hoped. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut it to size like this with each of the edge. I'm laid super flat, nothing's moving, and I'm going to cut it exactly the size I need. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right sides together. It's the right size, and sew down this side, and then I'm going to repeat on the other side. All right, so that side is on. We're going to press that back, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and add this side. I am doing the sides that have the 4 down, because it's 3 across by 4 down. So I'm doing the 4 down first. Okay, so I'm just going to cut this one to size now. Lay it nice and flat. Cut the selvage. Everything's lined up, nice and square, nice and flat. And I have to re-straighten that because I moved it accidentally. All right, that's lined up there. That's lined up there. I didn't pull or tug anything. Just lining it up with the edge of the quilt. All right, right sides together. It's exactly the right size. Sew with a 1/4 inch seam. All right, I have that sewn on. So I'm going to take this to the iron now and press it back. Okay, now we have the top and bottom. Now let's do these sides. They should be 33 inches. So if you had everything correct the first time, like I said, the 30.5 or the 28.5 for the sides and this side, now this should be 33 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. Honestly, I'm just going to line it up like this. I'm going to hold it nice and straight, cut the selvage off, and I could cut it 33 inches, or I could just do this for 33 inches. So there's that. And then I'm going to come over to this side. I'm not moving or adjusting anything, just laying it nice and flat and making the cut. So there's my 33-inch piece. I'm going to sew this on just like that. Okay, so there's one on there, and I'm going to go ahead and just move this out of the way because it's starting to get heavy and fall. So I'm going to go ahead and open this next piece up and cut a 33-inch piece. Just going to line it up on a line, come over here to 33, just like that. And it should be the exact size it needs to be. Throw that over there, move that out of the way, open this up, and see, 33 inches. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to take it over and press it back on both of the sides. Okay, so now it should be 33 by 35. We're going to go ahead now and cut that second border fabric. Now you can leave it as is, just like this, without a second border. But I want this baby quilt to be just a little bit bigger, so we're going to add that second border. And yes, there was one 2.5-inch strip left. That's because I used the scraps instead of cutting from a new piece. I used the scraps to cut the other one. But just know, if you don't want to use the cutoffs or the fold of the fabric, I made it to where you can have that extra strip. I tend to use the folds because I really don't care. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to cut some strips now. All right, so let's cut our border now. So we have a 1/2 yard here. I'm going to go ahead and straighten one end. I'm going to make sure I get all the layers while I'm here, because I definitely don't want to miss one, which I've done before plenty of times. Sometimes I like to take this end that I cut and make sure that it's selvage to selvage, and this one is. Okay, so I'm going to flip it over, and we're going to cut 3.5-inch strips. That's 3.5-inch strips. Okay, so we have our strips. 2 of them are going to stay whole, and the other ones we are going to put together before sewing them on. So we're going to go ahead now and grab this side right here, and we're going to make sure that it is 35 inches, and mine is about 34 3/4. So I'm going to go ahead and just cut this at 34 3/4. So I'm going to cut the selvage off and cut 2 of those. Let's see what the other side is, just to make sure. That way I can cut 2 of them at the same exact size. 34 3/4 from 2 of these. So I'm just going to stack them on top of each other and cut them at the same exact time to 34 3/4. I'm going to put it up here so that I can use the whole entire mat and not have to cut at the edge of my tray right here. All right, line it up on a line. Ta-da, ta-da, and ta-da. Again, I'm going to cut 34 3/4. Make sure you measure yours first. 3/4. Well, that didn't work out very well. There we go. All cut. All right, so here's our 2 sides. Let's attach those first, and then we'll find out the measurement for our next 2 sides. Okay, right sides together. Okay, turn the quilt, add the other side. All right, let's press these back, and then we're going to measure the distance between here and here. All right, it looks like I didn't need that. I just needed 4 strips because this landed at 38.5 on both sides. So I'm going to go ahead now and cut 38.5-inch strips off of here. So in half, that would be 19.25 on the fold. So I'm going to lay the fold right here, and I'm going to do a second one. So we could have cut 4-inch borders because we would have only needed 4. All right, so I'm on the fold exactly, and I'm going to come to 19.25. Oops, did I move that? No, okay, good. That's still good. So I'm going to come to 19.25, make that cut. And now this should be exactly the same size from here to here. Look at that. All right, so I'm going to sew this one on, and then I'm going to sew this one on. All right, now I'm going to take these over and press them back, and our little quilt should be done. All right, our little top is done. We're going to go ahead so that you can see it better by putting it up on the wall and taking a closer look. But at this point, it should be 38 by 40 3/4. Now, if you would have done my original plan, which I don't know what I was thinking because I have my paper right next to me. My original plan was for a 4.5-inch border. And with that 4.5-inch border, it would have been 42.5 by 40.5, which is what I should have done because I would have only needed to cut 4 strips. So it would have worked out just fine with a 4.5-inch border. So you can put a 4.5-inch border and you only need to cut 4 strips from your 1/2 yard of fabric. And here we have it. This baby quilt is so adorable. Look at that. So you can see that they're exactly the same block. Of course, I have this sideways right now, but it's the exact same block turned in this way and doing 4 down and 3 across. Same size sashing pieces, same size cornerstones, and same size outside first border, which I left these as an outside first border because you don't need a second border because the table runner is 18.5 inches wide already. So same thing. Now, if you want, you can take a jelly roll to a layer cake or whatever, and you can just make a ton of these blocks, and you could make this as big as you would like. So you could make it a lap size, you could make it twin, full, queen, king, whatever size you wish. Just keep making these blocks and adding the sashing. Just remember, for this little project, just this width by 40 something long, this one used 1 yard of fabric for all of this. So this right here was 1 yard, 3/4 of a yard. So for this size, for 3 across and 4 down. So you would need 1.5 yards for the next, and so on and so forth for each size that you want to go up. Just remember that. So make a ton of these. Again, 1 jelly roll, 2 layer cake, whatever. This is just 1 charm pack. Gave me this whole thing with my cornerstones, or I got the table runner with the 4 placemats with 1 charm pack and 1 yard of fabric. So this one I added the extra. I wrote on my original that I wanted a 4.5-inch border and I only needed 4 strips from my 3/4 of a yard, or from a 1/2 yard cut. So, I mean, I don't even know what I was thinking by putting 3.5 on there. But anyways, so you can make your borders however big you want. Just remember to measure the distance from here to get your number. So mine measures 38.5 by 40 3/4. That's the size mine turned out. So it's perfect for a baby. This is a baby quilt. It's perfect for a baby. So adorable. I love the look of both projects. Same exact block, different direction, different way. This block just has 1 extra row on it for the placemats so that they're longer than they are tall. That way, you can put your plate on there and still have your silverware on the side. So that's the only reason why we added 1 extra. And you can do the same for this. You don't have to stop at, a 4 across by 3 down. You can do 5 across by 4 down. As long as it turns out to be a rectangle, that is the way. Just remember, you have to change your sashing size if you change your block size. So this is awesome. This is awesome. I love them both. So tell me what you think in the comments below. I am not going to quilt these for this video. I'm just going to leave them as tops, hang them up in the closet, and get to them when I get to them, because, that's what happens here at Tiffany's Quilting Life. We get a closet filled with quilts that are not done for like a year. But I'm pretty sure you feel the same. But let me know which project you think you're going to try. Are you going to try a baby quilt or larger? Or are you going to try the table runner and the 4 placemats? Because again, 1 charm pack and 1 yard gives you this. 1 charm pack, 3/4 of a yard, and a 1/2 yard gives you that. So have fun, do what you will. I mean, I'm just here to guide you. Super simple, easy projects that any beginner can do. Have fun with it, make it your own, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.